Now, I'm about to do the NFC Championship game preview between the LA Rams and the Seattle Seahawks. The Rams, they're coming off of a hard-fought road win in overtime against the Bears in Chicago in the divisional round last week. It was a battle. Not only they had to battle the Bears, they also had to battle the Chicago elements. It was windy, cold, snowy. But the Rams, they got it done. And Matt Stafford was one of the main reasons why. He's definitely top 2 for MVP along with Drake May. During the regular season, he finished with 388 completions on 597 attempts. He had over 4,700 passing yards, 46 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, with a 71.1 QBR rating. Now, he didn't have a great game against the Bears. He finished with 20 completions on 42 attempts, 258 passing yards, zero touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I had to check to make sure that's right. With a 67.4 QBR rating. And man, Stafford definitely has some weapons around him, such as the All-Pro Puka Nacua, one of the best wide receivers in the game. During the regular season, he had 129 receptions on 166 targets, over 1,700 receiving yards, 10 touchdowns. In the divisional round against the Bears, he only had 5 receptions on 10 targets, along with 56 yards and 0 touchdowns. Also, he has the veteran wide receiver Devontae Adams, who definitely has found a new life in LA. During the regular season, he finished with 60 receptions on 114 targets, 789 yards, 14 touchdowns. In the divisional round against the Bears, he only had 2 receptions, 6 targets, 24 yards, 0 touchdowns. But Devontae Adams came up with a big catch in overtime that put the Rams in field goal range to ultimately win it. But you can't forget about Kyren Williams, who's definitely one of the most underrated running backs in the NFL. He finished the regular season with 259 carries, over 1,200 rushing yards, as well as 10 rushing touchdowns. Also, he had 281 receiving yards and 3 receiving touchdowns. And he had a monster game against the Bears. He had 21 carries, 87 rushing yards, as well as 3 rushing touchdowns. And also, they have a pretty good tight end that's up and coming in Kobe Parkinson. During the regular season, he finished with 43 receptions, 56 targets, 408 receiving yards, 8 touchdowns. Excuse me. Now, during the divisional round against the Bears, he only had 3 receptions on 7 targets, 56 receiving yards, and 0 touchdowns. But also, the Rams do have some pretty good talent on that defense, led by the All-Pros, Jared Verse and Byron Young. Now, they definitely finished middle of the pack in a lot of defensive categories during the regular season. They were 17th in total defense, giving up 327.5 yards per game. Also, they were 19th in pass defense, giving up 216.7 passing yards per game. They were 12th in rush defense, giving up 110.8 rushing yards per game. But they were 12th in point. They were 10th in points allowed, giving up only 20.4 points per game. Also, they were 7th in sacks, which they finished with 47.0 sacks, which they averaged 2.7 sacks per game. They were fifth in takeaways with 24 takeaways. No, excuse me, that's 26. But in the divisional round versus the Bears, they forced 3 major interceptions on Caleb Williams. Now the Seahawks, they've had a great regular season. They finished 14-3. They won their first NFC West title since 2014. And Sam Darnold seems to have a renaissance in Seattle after the Vikings let him go in the offseason. He finished the regular season with 323 completions on 477 attempts, over 4,000 passing yards, but he finished with 25 touchdowns and 14 interceptions with a 56 QBR rating. And he's coming off of a pretty nice game versus the 49ers in the divisional round. He finished with 12 completions on 17 attempts, 124 passing yards, as well as a touchdown. And he had 0 interceptions and 110.9 QBR rating. But also, he has some nice pieces here in Seattle, such as All-Pro rookie Jackson Smith-Njigba. During the regular season, he had 119 receptions on 163 targets, over 1,700 yards, as well as 10 touchdowns. In the divisional round versus the 49ers, he had 3 receptions on 4 targets, 19 yards, and a touchdown. Now, Kenneth Walker, he's coming off of a monster game against the 49ers. During the regular season, he had 221 carries, over 1,000 rushing yards, 5 rushing touchdowns. But in the divisional round versus the 49ers, he had 19 carries for 116 rushing yards, as well as 3 rushing touchdowns. But this Seattle defense, they are very dominant. Matter of fact, they finished top 10 in every defensive category during the regular season. They were 6th in total defense, which they gave up 285.9 yards per game. They were 10th in pass defense, giving up only 193.9 passing yards per game. They were 3rd in rush defense, giving up 91.9 rushing yards per game. They led the league in points allowed, only allowing opponents to score 17.2 points per game. They were 8th in sacks, which they finished with 47.0 sacks, which they averaged 2.7 sacks per game. They were 6th in takeaways with 25 takeaways. This defense is anchored by the All-Pros in Leonard Williams and DeMarcus Lawrence, but also they have dudes like Drake Thomas, the veteran Ernest Jones, Byron Murphy, and they also have a pretty nice secondary in All-Pro corner Devin Witherspoon, as well as safeties Julian Love and Kobe Bryant. And this defense dominated the 49ers in the divisional round, as they forced an interception off of Purdy and 2 fumble recoveries. All right, let me get myself back on the screen. Now, here are my keys to the game for both teams. For the Rams, before I get to my keys to the game, both these teams during the regular season, they split the season series by each team winning both games at home. We definitely can't forget that great overtime win by the Seahawks on Thursday Night Football as they came back from being down by as many as 18 to win it by 1 in overtime. Also, the Rams, they won against the Seahawks in LA by 2 points. So both games have been close. Both games have been decided by 3 points or less. Now let me get to my keys. Now let me get to my keys to the game. For the Rams, they definitely got to come out early and score. You want to take the 12th man out of it because they are definitely loud. They're very rowdy in a good way. You know, similar to the Broncos crowd, you feel like they're on top of you. So you definitely want to shut them down early by scoring. Stafford has to continue to play at that MVP level that he's been playing all season long. And so far in the playoffs, Nakua, he's definitely got to still be Nakua. Adams, he's definitely going to be an X factor, a main factor here because due to his veteran presence and leadership, if they can get him going, then this Rams offense is even more dangerous. Also, they definitely got to find ways to get Parkinson touches because if you get Parkinson going, he is definitely hard to contain. He's definitely a star. He's definitely a star in the making at tight end, in my opinion. Now on the defense, you got to get pressure on Sam Darnold as soon as the ball snaps because you could definitely force Darnold into some turnovers. As we all see, he finished with 14 interceptions during the regular season. Darnold does not do well when he has pressure. He cannot throw under pressure. He struggles when he faces pressure of a front seven. So you definitely got to pressure him early and often. Also, you got to contain Walker. That man is a beast. And he's definitely underrated as a running back, in my opinion. Secondary, they definitely cannot have Smith-Njigba beat them because if he has a great game, then that's going to make the secondary's life miserable. So you got to dare someone else to beat you besides any of them. Also, you got to win the battle at the line of scrimmage. You cannot have the Seahawks offensive line dominate you if you're the Rams front. You got to dominate them because that's a pretty good offensive line. If they dominate you, then that gives Darnold time to throw. Also, that creates lanes for Walker. And it definitely could create openings for Njigba as well as the receivers and tight ends down the field. So you definitely gotta win the battle against their offensive line. Now on the flip side for the Seahawks, you gotta use the 12th man. 12th man definitely has to become like a bench player at home to help you definitely win this game. Darnold, he's got to play mistake-free football. He cannot throw any interceptions because if he throws any picks in this game, more than likely, the Rams will make him pay. Look what happened to Caleb Williams when he threw those picks in the divisional round. For the most part, they turned into the points, and the last one he threw ended up leading to a game-winning field goal and ended the Bears season. To all my Bears fans, I'm sorry I had to bring that up. I just got to keep it 100. I know y'all still mad and hurting right now. But yep, Darnold has to play mistake-free football just like he did against the 49ers in the divisional round. Also, Kenneth Walker definitely has to continue the game. Well, he may not have the same game he had against the 49ers, but he definitely still has to have a very good game. This Rams front is definitely a big front. They're also physical. They're also physical. So he definitely has to find a way to punish the Rams front. Also, Smith-Njigba, he's definitely got to win his matchup against this secondary, such as the corners, excuse me, such as corners like Darius Williams, who's definitely going to be all over him be guarding him most of the game. So he's got to win his matchup against him. Also, the offensive line has to definitely win the line of scrimmage against this Rams front. Because if you do that, you give Darnold time, gives Williams openings to run and go and run for some big yards, by the way. Also, it gives Darnold more time to survey the field to see who can he throw to. Can he go deep? Can he throw a check down? Or do you stick with the run? Because if the offensive line of the Seahawks struggles against this Rams front, that's an advantage for the Rams. They're going to be pressuring them. They're going to create turnovers. Also, Darnold, more than likely, he's going to get sacked. So you definitely want to protect him so he doesn't get sacked. And also, it doesn't lead to any injuries, or cause any turnovers. Now, here are my X factors for the game on each team. For the Rams, I'm going with running back Blake Corum. Now, Blake Corum, he's been the second back next to Williams during the regular season. He finished with 145 carries, 746 rushing yards, and 6 rushing touchdowns. The divisional round in Chicago last week against the Bears, he only had 6 carries for 19 rushing yards. He can definitely be a factor here in this game, because they're definitely going to be focusing on Kyren Williams. So that can definitely lead to more opportunities here for Corum to definitely have a nice game. If they can establish him early on, and also as the game goes along, and if he could get a touchdown, that could definitely pay dividends for the Rams winning this game and advancing to the Super Bowl. Now, for the Seahawks, I decided to go with a very familiar face, and that's ex-Ram Cooper Kupp. Now, we all know Cooper Kupp was a beast for the Rams for years. Also, he won a Super Bowl with the Rams in 2021. He was Super Bowl MVP. He also won the Triple Crown that year. Now, ever since he's been in Seattle, he didn't have too much of a good year. He only had 47 receptions on 76 targets, 593 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. But he's coming off of his best game as a Seahawk against the 49ers in the divisional round last week. He had 5 receptions on 5 targets for 60 yards and 0 touchdowns. So I'm definitely sure that Cooper Kupp wants to get revenge against his old team. And what better way to do it right here in the NFC Championship game? So that way he can get back to the Super Bowl and try to win another one. I was just thinking about that recently. If Cooper Kupp does if the Seahawks win the Super Bowl, Cooper Kupp would have won the Super Bowl with 2 teams in the same division. I wonder, has that ever happened? I'm going to have to check. I'm going to have to find out about that. Oops. My bad. All right. It's time for my prediction. Like I mentioned earlier, both of these teams faced off in the regular season. Both games were close, decided by 3 points or less. The Rams, they won in LA by 2. The Seahawks came from behind and won in overtime by 1. And I don't expect anything different. These two teams definitely have high-power offenses. Both have great defenses. They have great young coaches. It's going to be a chess match between Sean McVay and Seahawks coach Mike McDonald. Definitely can't wait to see the chess match these two have against each other on the sidelines in this NFC championship game. You have one coach trying to get back to his his second Super Bowl and win it. While you have this young up-and-coming coach trying to get to his first Super Bowl and win it. Both teams are definitely talented on defense. They're opportunistic. They get after the quarterback. They're physical. They definitely, for the most part, get after the ball. But this is leading up to be a classic, especially when two teams from the same division meet at this point. They know each other. They played each other twice in the regular season. So, excuse me. There's nothing that they can do to surprise each other. But I'm expecting this to be another classic. It may come down to the wire. It may come down to overtime. Or it may come down to who has the ball last. But it's going to be a very close one. But I got the Rams edging the Seahawks 31-28. So for the Super Bowl, I have the Rams and Patriots meeting each other once again. Well, all right, good peep. Well, definitely want to know your thoughts on who you got in these championship games this weekend.